Welcome to the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures, the largest institution in the United States devoted to the arts, sciences, and artists of movie making. My name is Christina Ibarra, and I am the Director of Education and Public Engagement at the museum. Before we begin, the Academy Museum would like to acknowledge the Tongva people as the traditional caretakers of the water and land on which we program, curate, educate, convene, and discuss. We honor and respect Tongva ancestors and the Tongva community today, which continue to nurture this land and water through traditional practice, activism, art, and education. We also acknowledge their continued work to safeguard cultural resources. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'd love to see a full crowd. We are so honored to host this historic iteration of Breaking the Oscar Ceiling casting directors. This series aims to celebrate significant firsts, Oscar milestones, and historic wins. The work of casting directors is an integral part of the creative process. Tonight, the Academy Museum will celebrate the creation of the new Academy Award for Achievement in Casting. Yes. Beginning with the 98th Annual Academy Awards for films released this year in 2025. We'll be joined by casting directors as they discuss the historic milestone, reflect on past achievements, and talk about what the inclusion and impact of the new award means for the future of their discipline. Breaking the Oscar Ceiling kicks off Oscar nominee spotlight programming that brings select screenings of Academy Award nominated shorts, panels with Academy Award nominated filmmakers in the lead up to the 97th Oscars. Tomorrow, we celebrate the nominated animated short and feature films with screenings, a panel, and a showcase of production objects. Additional Oscar nominee spotlights continue next week from categories such as Best Picture, International Feature Film, and Makeup and Hairstyling. Oscar nominee spotlights are made possible by the Ruderman Family Foundation. Oscar nominee spotlights is presented thanks to AFIVA by Sony Honda Mobility. Additional support is provided by Clarendale and Domaine Clarence Dillon and the Champagne Lallier. Academy Museum film programming is generously funded by the Richard Roth Foundation. And don't forget, on Sunday, March 2nd, be sure to watch the 97th Oscars. It will be televised live on ABC and streamed live on Hulu. I would like to thank our ASL interpreters who will be assisting tonight's program. Their names are Abihu Zuniga and Romina Mena. Thank you. Please remember before we start our program to silence, darken, and stow your mobile devices, including phones and smartwatches. So now let me welcome our guests to the stage. First up is Richard Hicks. Mr. Hicks' nearly 30-year career as a casting director includes over 80 motion pictures, including Hell or High Water, Zero Dark 30, Gravity, and Lars and the Real Girl. Richard is an Emmy winner, a past president of the Casting Society, and a graduate of RADA. He is also a governor for the casting director branch of the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences. Next up is Carmen Cuba. Recently BAFTA nominated for The Apprentice, Carmen Cuba's 25-year-long career has included collaborations with award-winning directors such as Steven Soderbergh, Ridley Scott, Luca Guadagnino, Leos Carax, the Wachowskis, Jane Campion, Jordan Peele, and Andrew Hay. Next up is Kim Taylor Coleman. Kim is a Los Angeles-based casting director known for her work in film and television. She has received 2 Emmy nominations and 5 Artios Awards from the Casting Society of America for excellence in casting for her work on Spike Lee's Oscar-winning film BlacKkKlansman, HBO's Lovecraft Country, Netflix's Dear White People, and the feature films Dope and Zola. Kim is is part of the CSA and AMPAS member and is a governor for the casting director branch of the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences and is a VP on the Academy Museum Foundation board. Please welcome Julia Kim. Miss Kim has been a casting director for over 2 decades. Her feature highlights include Minari, The Last Black Man in San Francisco, Spa Night, and But I'm a Cheerleader. She received Film Independent's Robert Altman Award for Starlet and a BAFTA nomination for Minari. Recent television credits include Expats and Sunny. Her side project in Invasion LA helps Asians better navigate the Hollywood landscape. And please welcome Victoria Thomas. Combining a lifelong passion for film and television with a keen insight into human nature, Vicki Thomas has worked her craft on a wide range of extraordinary films, both studio and independent. Her credits include The Nickel Boys, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Morning Show, Hidden Figures, The Last of Us, Edward Scissorhands, Con Air, and Sid and Nancy. Deborah Zane. Miss Zane has been a casting director for over 3 decades. Her feature credits include
We're just talking about age back there. That's why she did that.
Cocaine Bear, the Hunger Games franchise, the Planet of the Apes franchise, Dreamgirls, Catch Me If You Can, Traffic, Galaxy Quest, and American Beauty. Deborah is a graduate of Sarah Lawrence College, and she is also a governor for the casting director branch of the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences. Thank you, and enjoy the panel.
Classy bunch. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. We are very excited to be here for the first casting directors panel, Breaking the Oscar Ceiling. And for those of you who don't know, the first Best Casting Oscar will be presented at the 98th Academy Awards in 2026. Tonight, you'll hear from these accomplished casting directors and governors to talk about exactly what we do and how we got here. So let's go. So first of all, how did you get started and what appealed to you about casting? Start with you, Richard. How about
Okay, sure. Oh, sorry. Let's see. I started as an actor when I was a teenager. I wanted to be an actor, and I went to college, and then I went to acting drama school in London, RADA, Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. There, I was with some of the best actors in the world. Ray Fiennes was in my class, and Mark Rylance was just above me, and Clive Owen was just below me. So I knew what amazing, informative acting what felt like to look it in the eye. But I was self-conscious as an actor myself, so I stopped when I was about 30, and then I found this job in casting, and I loved it because I have a career that kind of keeps me close to that moment. For a job, I get to look at people being vulnerable and open and communicative, and it's really cool. So that's why I like it.
Carmen?
Sorry, what was the question? How did we get started?
How did you get started, and what appealed to you about casting?
I would say that if I look back on my life, it always looked like I was doing casting, but I wasn't. But the thing that was a through line for me was collaborating with smart, creative people who have a story that they want to tell. So first I was a journalist, and I had to, pick the person at the car accident to tell the story. I had to be the interviewer. And then I was in documentary TV for a while, and I just sort of said yes to a lot of things, but that's the through line. It's just collaboration and creativity with big brained people.
What about you, Julia?
I was working in animation on The Simpsons, and I was looking to pivot to get into the film industry because I love movies. And I answered an internship classified ad in the trades, and it ended up being in David Rubin's office. So for those of you who don't know, he was our Academy president and a great mentor. And I sat one summer on the ground, opening up every piles and piles of headshots, and looked at the resumes and got familiar with the agencies, got familiar with the actors, and saw how the office conducted themselves when actors came in nervous, and we put them at ease. And it was just something that really resonated with me because performance is just something that was my favorite part of watching a movie. So I found my dream job accidentally, but and then I worked with Deb Zane. Hi, Deb. And we worked on some really cool projects, and I learned so much from both of them, and I still apply those tools today.
Great. Miss Vicki Thomas?
You want to say anything?
No, I was in the graduate film program at UCLA. I was in the directing program, and sort of accidentally fell into casting. I was casting a fellow student's thesis film that, through a lot of trials and tribulations over the course of a year, became sort of a feature film. And they just asked me to keep casting. I thought they'd get, someone who knew what they were doing.
And what was that film? What was the big film?
No, it was a movie called Repo Man.
Repo
and
Man,
yeah, it was my
yeah.
friend.
Love.
Yeah. So, I did it, sort of being thrown into the deep end of the pool. And I liked it, and I was good at it. And, growing up, I was a complete movie lover and TV addict, and always paid particular attention to the actors and to the way that they affected me. And always remembered their names and knew who my favorites were. And so I guess all that came in handy, when I decided to pursue this. I never worked for anyone, so I sort of, like I said, I learned on the job, made my mistakes and sort of just learned from that. But after Repo Man, I just went, and I think I worked at KBC Eyewitness News for a while because my cousin worked there, and I was like, I don't know, I did some things there. And then I got another call from Ed Pressman and David Byrne about another movie, and things just sort of snowballed from there.
Amazing.
We also all started before the internet. We have to remember that.
We all started before the
Right.
internet.
So, like, we were actually memorizing people and where they were and how to find them.
We had to. Yeah.
And memorizing phone numbers and
Uh-huh.
memorizing the names of everyone's assistant and their phone number.
When I was an assistant with Vicki Thomas, which was my
Mike.
first assistant job, I had interned with Billy Hopkins, who was in Los Angeles casting a film, and his associate was Aisha Coley. And I was an intern. And he said, I can't pay you, but I'll teach you everything about casting. And I said, okay, I'll try it. So a couple months later, the movie was, was done. It was great. And I think he called Vicki. I don't know how I got in touch with, but I think he may have called. He said, Vicki Thomas is looking for an assistant. And I said, oh, I'd love to meet her. So I go over to her office. I wait for Vicki. She's in session. She comes out. She said, you want to work for me? Yeah, sure. She said, well, I'm going to Africa, okay? I'm going to Africa, and I need you to sit and show Warren Beatty a bunch of tapes. It's like, okay, I think I can do that. So
Deep
that's how I
into the
got-
pool.
Right in there. Right in there. That's how I got started. But okay, so Deb.
No,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I like Vicky said, go all the way back to being television addict, going to all the movies, remembering who everybody is, being like a kid and saying like, oh, that guy, he was the blah 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 and the so and so, and then just sort of on and on. And so in a weird way, I always knew I could do it, and then I also loved families in movies or television. I was always fascinated by how they looked alike, but I knew that they weren't like blood family. I was like, that is a cool job, I just like, I don't know.
But I guess what we all maybe have in common too is we all watch so much, so many films and
Yeah.
lots of television, right?
Yeah.
Great. Now, successful casting is often described in terms of chemistry, especially between actors. So, what does seeing good chemistry mean to you? What about you, Deb?
I have, it's an interesting question because I don't think I can tell you what bad chemistry is like, because I feel like there's something about actors. It's almost like a superpower especially on the occasion of testing or chemistry testing for something, where like it's all turned on. It's like just turned on. So, but I will tell you that one experience that I had with a movie where we knew who the female lead was, a young girl, and we had to put her with less than a handful of final actors for the part opposite her. And after everybody read together, then we did a thing where we sent her to the back of the room. It was a sort of a big space, to the back of the room up against the backdrop. And we ran the camera, but without sound. And we just had the camera shooting her just chatting. I have no idea what they're talking about. She didn't know them, but she had just met them, and we were just trying to see. And she had a lot of personal power. So you could see that with most of the guys, they were like, she was sort of driving the conversation, and you could see that they were sort of in awe of her, but that wasn't what his character was supposed to be. And then all of a sudden, this guy that was with her, she just became she softened, and she became a girl. And this was all without sound. You just watched it happen. And that was like, that's it. That's what she needs to feel like.
Right.
So.
You can sort of tell. That actually just recently happened to me. Yeah, you're just sort of watching how certain actors are with other actors, and same thing happened. A softening.
Yeah, but then sometimes,
of an actress with this actor.
You hear stories like way after the fact about how people hated each other. They wanted to kill each other. And you cannot tell that in the movie. It's like a surprising story because they're acting.
No, I think you're right about the superpower.
I think that's acting.
No, I think I think it is.
Yeah.
It is. But
I think a surprising thing too about chemistry is that when you have the one actor set and you're reading people opposite them, it really is as much about what happens to the person who's set as much as it is about how the other people interact with her. So that's like where it feels very magical, where that, like you said, where that person changes and you're like, oh, that's it.
But I have a question. Using, we use a lot of chem reads sometimes, or auditions over Zoom, and I think you can really tell sometimes who does not have the chemistry over Zoom. Not so much who has it. I think I've experienced that with quite a few chem reads. It's like they don't seem to be on the same, I don't know, page for some reason.
I think it's
Have you
harder to
experienced
jump
that?
into chemistry if they don't have it over Zoom already.
Yeah.
It's harder to make it coalesce through
Right, because in the
Zoom.
room is different. You
Yeah.
can see.
Because there are things you can do. Yeah.
Right.
I think it's also as simple as just normal people meeting someone, and you either automatically like them or you automatically hate them, and you almost don't know why.
Right.
I mean, you could think about it and
You could think
figure out why, but
So what do you do when you first read a script and you come onto a film, Carmen? What's the first thing you do?
I was thinking about this because I knew you were going to ask. I actually I start reading it, and I assign someone, an actor,
Mm-hmm.
for most of the parts, so that in my mind, even if it's, I mean, it's usually not ever going to be that person, but it just gives me a marker to start thinking. And then I can change it along the way if it doesn't feel right. And then it sort of gives me a place that I can start once I'm done reading it, with sort of exploring people in that realm.
What about you, Richard?
I'm a bad reader of scripts. It usually takes me like 2 or 3 times to really get a sense of it. I read it once kind of for the events, and then the second time with a more nuanced sense. I don't know. And then I'll talk to whoever, the director or the producer, and just ask as many questions as I can, or whatever I don't quite get or feel like, is this the right vibe of it? I'll ask a bunch of questions before I start. And there's some directors who are really able to answer those questions really specifically, and I like when they can, as opposed to, I don't know, just who do you think? I like having something that's kind of the North Star that you aim for, and then you can change it. But knowing that I'm trying to find this kind of person is helpful to me.
What about you, Julia?
I'm kind of old school. I use a good old fashioned legal pad, and I must have learned it from you.
Yeah. I think David maybe did that.
Yeah. I write down all the speaking parts as I'm reading, and then I number them too, so I have a roll count. And then as I'm reading, if names do pop into my head, I kind of jot them down on the side. I also write down the characteristics that jump out on the page next to them, and age and personality traits, and then I take inventory of how many roles, and then I go back and I prioritize the ones that are key, or the ones that I feel like are going to be challenging, and I'm going to need a little extra time to look for those. And so I kind of create a little tapestry in my cast, in my head, of like who belongs in this world. And I just start a little sub list going, and sometimes it's fun to go back and go, how many of those ended up like coming in and actually auditioning, or how off I was in my original instinct. But just a fun little game to play.
Well, since we're talking about actors, how do you discover like a new actor? Is it just through the casting process, or watching a lot of films, or do you go to a lot of theater, or how do you find actors? When you start out, when you're starting a project.
All of the above. I'm a pretty immersive casting director, so I do, depending on the assignment, go out to the communities to find diamonds in the rough. Watching a lot. We're really fortunate. Like every Academy film is, like we have the ability to stream them. So I try take advantage of watching everything. Commercials. Even if someone pops out in a commercial, I'll be like, "Who's that?" And stand up. We live in LA. I mean, there's just no shortage of checking out performances. I live in Hollywood. I can go to the Laugh Factory, comedy, store, improv, the smaller little ones. I love when comics come up with notes and they're working stuff out. I like to go on a weeknight and see them working it out. It's kind of fun to see that.
How do you come?
Same process for me too. One of the things I do besides that is sort of in more New York than LA, weirdly, but I ask friends who are in theater for their friends who are not represented yet. Like if I say, I have these 5 parts, it'd be great to give someone a shot. And so then, I have like, Jonathan Groff, Andre Holland, they all work so deeply in theater and have so many great colleagues that's been a way that's been helpful. And then I steal from other casting directors whose work I admire, and I do look at other filmmakers, directors whose films I love, and see what they've done and steal from that too.
Wow.
I think when you're working, I think you
theft,
can.
you guys, just in case you didn't know that.
I think it's safe to say that when you're working, you're so project focused So you're probably, this might be true for all department heads. You're even in the world, you're in the supermarket, you're driving, you might look at the person next to you and be like,
Totally,
oh my God, that guy's perfect. It's like, because you're just thinking about the characters all the time. And so when that happens, people that are not right for your world, you're just, so I
They
sometimes
fall away, you mean?
say again.
They fall away? Is that
Yeah,
what
they
you're saying?
fall away. Or so you'll get like a letter from an actor who will say things like, it's been so long since I've seen you. Like, I have not like needed your type in the last 2 years, you know what I mean? Because of what I've worked on. But I think that's to be like in that zone focuses you.
Vicky, this is a funny story. I don't know about many years ago when you were casting a film about Bob Marley, and I know we were traveling all around the country, and we were looking for the lead. And remember, I called you and I said, I'm in the Beverly Center, and I just saw this guy who looks exactly like Bob Marley. And this is a true story. And the Beverly Center has those long, escalators. I was going down, and he was going up. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I was with my family, my husband and my daughter, and I literally, I went back and I chased him down and I said, I'm so sorry. I'm not a crazy person. I said, but I'm working on this film. I said, oh, you're an actor? And of course he said yes. And,
It's
and
LA.
I said, do you play the guitar? Of course he said yes. And so I said, look, and I gave him the office number, and I said, please call, I'm really a sane person. And he called, and I showed him, he met Vicky else in the office, because he looks just like Bob Marley. And we were like, oh my God, he's amazing.
Did he get it?
He was an okay guitar player. He was not the best. And the funny thing was, I think the financing fell apart or whatever, but we started calling him, and the director, I think Ron Shelton, started calling him Beverly Center Bob. So my point is, you never know with casting directors. We're always out there looking for everything.
I think the long and short of it is wherever we can find people. I mean, it's
Wherever.
like I have an associate in my office who's really into all the English stuff.
Yeah.
Looks at everything, and I always go, okay, who are you? What
Right.
and who? And
Right.
and just, agents might say, hey, I'm hip pocketing some. Would you meet him? Sure. Oh, come on in. I mean, just wherever you can find it. I think that's where we go.
It is helpful when in your own office, your own staff, you know that person loves horror, so like they got that covered. And you don't have to watch the horror movies if you don't like it. And then, but you'll hear about the cool actor, and or likewise, whatever like anime that's live action anime, stuff like that. So, but our eyes and ears are always open, I think.
Yeah, and the staff, they have brains too, and they watch things, and they're starting to develop their own taste. And so it's like, yeah, who do you like?
Right.
Yeah,
very helpful. Now, is it different casting, like a big budget film as opposed to a low budget film? It's the same process, just a different group of actors, different lists, different names?
Depends on the script, I would say. I don't think it's it may not be a different group of actors. If it's a beautiful script, you will get the best actors going. I don't know.
And a director maybe that has had
Yes.
some
Who's known or
attention.
respected, or
Yeah.
who is
or a producer,
first time.
an element, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
there usually is often something that allows the fancy actor to understand that they will be well taken care of, and the other artists in it are going to be of their caliber, if you will.
But Vicky was saying this just out before we walked in, that good writing, good acting. So sometimes if a script is really strong, you can attract. But like you're saying, or the director is someone of note, or someone that's interesting on the way up. There's some element like that. But
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I like doing independent things often because I feel like they listen to me more. I don't know if y'all have that experience, but as the money goes up, the focus changes.
Layers of people involved.
And so I feel like I get to have more say.
More influence.
More influence, yeah.
What with the director and the producers?
Yeah, like they're willing to listen to me more and or just take my advice sometimes when they may not in bigger movies because they don't.
But also in general, lower budget means less money and less
Right.
time.
Yeah.
Time and
Yeah.
resources.
Yeah.
But also usually a story that's not trying to appeal to the masses, and it's something very, deliberate or personal, the story. And so I enjoy working on independent films because of the originality in the story making, and taking more risks because there's less financial risk.
Yeah, me too.
So how do you avoid actors that you've seen over time in pigeonholing an actor? It's like he's a character actor. He's
I think it's incumbent upon us to keep an open mind, and it's our responsibility. Often one of the ways in which you do that is like you imagine, like complicated or no, quality actors are often multifaceted, and so they're capable of something else, and often that might be something that they are eager to do because they haven't explored they've explored this way, they want to go this way, and trying to think who might be ripe for something that would be a change for them is sometimes a way that I get to put somebody in something who may not who everybody might not have thought of.
And I think that is a big part of what we do, is being able to speak to sort of the nuances about actors to directors who maybe have only thought of them a certain way, and you can point to, something that happened in their family that maybe relates to the story, that maybe would connect them somehow. I mean, we definitely...
Right. Or I'll find a piece of tape, a small piece of tape that does something in relation to it, which isn't what they normally do or whatever, all to help foster the conversation so it gets the best actor the job.
But also you can try, for example, if like a police captain is scripted, and as a male, we can try to open up the director's eyes to say, is there any way that we can bring some women in to read this part, or things like that. So it's even broadening a script that's not scripted a certain way.
Right. Do you find yourselves having to convince a director or producer, about a particular actor that's right for the part? I mean, a lot of the times, or Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, we don't want to.
No names, of course.
No, but I mean, so much. I think this is probably true of any department head, that you want to encourage an idea that is not maybe what they're thinking, and it's all about the finesse of that and how you approach that. And obviously, like anything in life, if you sort of ram it down their throat, they're not going to be responsive. They'll be defensive, but I think there are ways to do it, and I find very often you can just prove it with the like if you feel strongly about someone and they don't see it, then, and if you're playing it correctly, you can say, "Can I please try something else? Because I think there's another scene we should try." Or can I show you, like Richard was saying, I'm not sure if you saw this movie, but they were so good in this movie. Can I show you some scenes from that? And blah, blah, blah. And I will tell you that it can work. It can really work.
But it is sort of a finesse game.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times I find I just sort of have to wait somebody out and let them go through the process. And look, if someone comes up through that process and they're great, great. But a lot of times they'll think, I think it's that. And then I'll just wait them out. And you end up bringing that person back around. And I had a director said to me once, "You tricked me."
Yeah.
But I'm sure he's happy you did.
Yeah, that is true. I have a quick story. I was having callbacks with a director, a pretty A-list director, and he had seen everyone on tape, and then we had a callback, so he knew exactly who he was calling back. And there was one particular actor that he did not see, and during the auditions, he would go out, he would leave the office and just, say hi to the actors, and they were just, reading their sides and just, they were all nervous. And he kept seeing this one actor. He said, "Who is that?" I was like, "Who?" And he the one actor that I thought I was going to sneak in. And he said, "Who's that?" I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "He may be here because next
Got
door,
Kim.
next door was
tricked me?
a facility where you could do self tapes.
Oh,
I
I
said he
see.
must be there doing the self tape. And he said, okay. So he went back in. We kept going with the, the callbacks. And he just kept, I said, why does he keep going out the door? It's like, he was focused on this actor. So we got to the end of the callbacks. And I said, look, I saw this actor. I know he's not physically or, what you had in mind, but he's fantastic. Would you please see him? And at first, it was a little hesitant. And he agreed. And, the actor came in and did his thing. And then during the audition, the director was, chuckling a little bit. He was laughing a little bit. I said, oh, great, this is going to work. And then he laughed. And like Vicki said, he said, he's fantastic. He's great. He said, I did not think that this type of, just physicality and this type of actor would fit in. And he's gone on to do very well in his career. So I was really proud of that. So I'm saying that we as casting directors, we are champions for actors, and we always, try to put different actors forward. So the big question of the evening, the reasons for wanting an Oscar for casting seem obvious for all of us. Why was it important to advocate for one? We start with you, Deb.
I'm going to yield my time to Richard.
Oh, you are? Okay.
I thought you wanted to say something.
Yeah,
first.
I did. I mean, part of getting the approval to create an Oscar was speaking passionately to the people who needed to make the decision. And every time that we as a group did this, I was, intimidated and eager to say the right things. And what always calmed me down, what always gave me drive, were all of the casting directors who cast amazing things in the past who will not get this opportunity, like Mike Fenton, who cast E.T., or Fred Roos, who cast The Godfather, or Ronnie Yesko, who cast Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, or Marion Doherty, who cast Midnight Cowboy. None of them will get it. None will. That time has passed. But what we can do, and what I was committed to doing, was making sure that moving forward, they will get the recognition that they deserve, and that fueled me. So, yeah.
Just to simply add that, the strong feeling among the casting branch, among the governors who preceded us, David Rubin, Laura Kennedy, and Bernie Telsey, is that we are as deserving of the recognition as every other category. Our contribution is equal to the others, and we, I suppose, patiently waited for the opportunity to plead our case, and I think obviously we successfully did, because we achieved it. But I mean, I really think that we educated a lot of people who, and even like a night like this, where you may not know exactly how it works. I mean, you probably have an idea of how somebody scores a movie, and certainly what the director does and what the editor does. But there's a lot of, branches in the Academy. It's like not 100% clear how the process is. And so much of our process, as you can even tell from the way they were answering questions, is so behind closed doors. It's not appropriate to tell you so many things, because it's
vulnerable. Actors come
very
in
vulnerable
and they
when
open up
people
their hearts
come
to you.
Well,
And
well, not only that. I mean, as soon as a script or a project is greenlit, we're probably the first people to be hired.
Right. Once a movie's greenlit, my experience is they hire a casting department and like a locations manager, and they start looking for where they're going to shoot it and who's going to be in it, long before certainly the people who are in post-production go to work. But anyway, so I think that we really clearly and successfully were able to explain to those who needed to
what we do, how it works, and how deserving we are. I mean, we're part of, just like any other branch or any other craft. We are a huge part of the creative process.
We're a basic food group to a film.
Very good. I like
That's
that.
good. You're right. We're vegetables. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. That's funny.
So, what is something you think would surprise people about your job, about what you do?
I would say about how much work goes on behind the scenes before anybody sees anything. We curate what we present to a degree that is that takes up all our bandwidth, and like who comes after who, what role we present, what roles do we think we've got, and how does that relate to what roles do we think we're not sure we've got, as all to make the process efficient and make the project the best thing it can be.
Tremendous organization.
Yeah,
like I think you would be very surprised.
And flying by the seat of my pants. Today, they didn't like the choices for one part, so I'm seeing people over the weekend, and and that's fine because it works on Thursday. Because I had one vision of the part, and they were like, "Oh, it's this," and I was like, "Oh, now I get it. Okay, now let me go."
Yeah,
that's what I did.
Yeah, we did. We work 24/7. We really do.
But I think it's right what Julia said. If there's anyone out here who's thinking about casting, you really need to have an incredibly organized brain. And
or
if you don't, you have to hire people who can really,
And
everything needs to be chronicled, labeled, uploaded, cataloged for future projects.
Right, it's exactly right. Like we'll work on a project and you'll see someone who is so completely, they look, maybe from their picture, they look like they should give it a try, but then it's like, no, this is completely wrong. And then you'll make a little note to yourself, like, remember the good actor, but not this. It's not this world, but this guy would be great if you're ever casting note to self, if you're ever casting something, blah, blah, blah.
I think they'd be surprised at how much we are involved with contracts and making
negotiations.
deals and negotiations and budgeting and structuring and the scheduling of it all, and how much we deal with ADs. And I think that I don't
travel coordinators.
It's not
Costumes,
visas.
Yeah, visas.
But also psychologists. I mean,
yes.
No, there's a lot of.
There's a lot of hand holding. I will say, if a director or producer starts to get panicked because we're getting close to shooting, we don't have this part, I'll say, you only start panicking if I'm panicking. Like, I'm not panicked yet.
Right.
So hang on.
Thing.
Yeah, wait for me to panic.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, making sure that the actor that you're recommending for the project is not going to be problematic on set. You want to set your project up for success, so you kind of do your behind the scenes homework, and you vet the actors and sort of their, reputation or their history, things like that.
And also when they're kids, that they're when they're any actors, obviously, that they're protected in the ways that they need to be. But particularly for me, I think about kids a lot.
Yeah, definitely kids. And I would say, like, we as casting directors, I think folks should really know that we really love actors, and we respect actors and, in their process. And I think a lot of times actors feel like, we're not 100% on a team, but we're teammates. You look good, we look good, And I always want to stress that your best interest, that's what we're here for. So I always want actors to know that.
Oh, yeah, our jobs wouldn't exist without actors. We kind of live our lives professionally through them. So to think otherwise is a fool's errand. I think sometimes casting directors, when they get cranky or self-involved or whatever, that they lose their ability to do the best work.
Yeah, cranky.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't look at me. I'm not cranky. I'm not professionally cranky.
No, you're not.
And I think another thing that's surprising.
That's why you're here.
Is a lot of us work together. Vicky, who's will come up through the Vicky Thomas ranks?
It's not just, there is a network. There is like a connective tissue among certain casting directors who have, I guess the word is mentored along the way, either on purpose or by accident. And then people have sort of grown into their own grown-up casting directors.
Yeah. When I worked with Vicky, again, I was her assistant, then I was her associate, and then we partnered together, and then she kicked me out. So.
I fired her.
There you go. And Carmen, you have an amazing
I came up
team.
with Margie. Yeah, Margie Simpkin. Actually, I was an assistant in
the same hallway as me.
hallway as Deb
Yes.
Zane.
In the
yeah,
beginning.
One time?
No, this
Oh,
is
one time. Oh,
this is
okay.
one of the I've been doing this for over 3 decades,
Yeah.
Kim. So
In the 30s.
as we remember, yeah.
And Richard, you've worked with
Yeah,
David.
yeah.
David,
definitely.
I think
Yeah.
And
3 of us
Richard
are
and I
Dave.
worked together under
right.
Ronnie Esco.
That's right.
So we were
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah,
same
yeah.
office there.
Yeah.
So we all kind of cross paths.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just going back to, been at it for a long time, and just going back to the whole casting Oscar thing. I mean, we've been trying to do that. I remember going to meetings at Laura Kennedy's house in the 90s.
Yes, I think it's also a testament to the changing academy and their openness to our message and kind of understanding and therefore respect for the craft
Right.
in a way that wasn't true.
Yeah. Timing is everything.
30
I think
years
things
ago.
take time, and things take time. You know,
Timing was everything.
And there was an old guard. I think there was an old guard that
Yeah,
saw us as
Definitely. Yeah. Look,
like script
I have to
girls or
say,
something.
we worked very hard. It was so many. It was a team effort. So many. It was members, actors, producers, directors. It wasn't just a few people. Like I said, the past governors, past presidents, and I just think when we presented, it was so passionate from the heart that they had to say. I mean, how can you really say no? And I think that it just touched everyone. And without the board of governors, saying
We
yes,
wouldn't be here.
and with Bill and Janet, and especially Lynette, we have to give her. She's the head of the awards committee, because there were certain steps we had to take to get to the finish line. But it was a team effort. So we all celebrate as casting directors, but we love to let everyone know that it was a big team. I think that's it. Anything else we should add? Anything else we should talk about today?
Anybody have a question?
No.
We're not doing a question.
Sorry. I think that concludes the
Okay.
casting.
Thank you very much.